Hi everybody, this is Rusty again from Collector Auctions, and today I've got a comic book haul video for you. Now these books are books that I've been picking up from WhatNot mostly over probably the last month. They've just been slowly coming in. Every week I'll go into certain shows, certain sellers that I follow, and I end up buying some books, and I set them aside, and eventually they'll end up usually in the shop where I clean and press them and everything, and a lot of them will end up going to CGC. But I thought before I actually get into showing you the books, I thought I would talk a little bit about why I get the books that I get. Why do I show you guys these books? Mostly it's to show you guys that this is how I speculate on books. This is, for the most part, what I do is I try to find really good books that aren't quite perfect usually, but books that I think I can work on. Books that have a lot of value if you can get them graded by CGC and get a high grade on them. And so there's a lot of work involved here. It's not just going out and buying books that you like or just thinking, oh, that's a great book. You've kind of got to know the prices of how much you're going to spend, how much you're going to spend for CGC. If you're doing your own cleaning and pressing, hey, that's great. But if you send it out to somebody, that's another expense. You've got shipping costs to and from. Insurance. Do you guys have collector's insurance, or do you pay extra on your postage to have things insured? These are all factors that go into when you want to buy a book and you want to do this kind of thing. You have to figure these things in. And I'm not going to sit here and show you spreadsheets on exactly that process. There are much better videos on this. I would suggest you guys check out Moneyball Comics. He does a great job showing you the spreadsheets, and it's a very similar process. And he will show you like how much he spends on things and show you the costs and then the breakdown and everything. What I'm going to do in my videos and what I have been doing is showing you the books that I'm getting, and I'm going out there and I'm like, hey, that's a pretty good price for that book. Do I think I can work on it a little bit? Can I improve that? Can I push that book up to a 9.6, 9.8? And you've kind of got to know the value of what that book sells for at that grade before you end up just buying a book. And a lot of what I'm picking up of WhatNot, for the most part, are books that I put into this formula. And the other part of this is, yeah, they're also for the PC. These are all books that I kind of really like. There's not one of these books that I wouldn't mind just having in the PC to begin with. So it's a little bit of this where you bring the love of these comics into this. You do this work. It isn't just to be a seller. I don't do this to just sell comics. I do this because I love comics. I love some comics more than other comics, and I don't mind on some of these selling them, and some of them I absolutely want to keep. So it's a little bit of a mix in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the books I've been picking up, as again, from WhatNot, and we'll go through each one of the sellers a little bit, and I'll talk about the books, and hopefully you gain some an understanding of what I'm trying to do. I don't know if you guys want to try the same thing. I'm not going to suggest you go out and buy every book that I buy. I don't do this perfectly. I do what makes sense to me. But anyway, I thought I'd throw that out there. Rather than just doing a show and tell and then move on, I thought I'd give you a little bit of my methodology, and hopefully it gives you some insight into what I do. So anyway, enough rambling. Let's get into the books. As I said, these are from WhatNot. And one of the things I've been doing from WhatNot, and the reason I pulled away was because I was buying books just from too many sellers, and I was just overpaying on certain things. And so what I did, I took myself off for a while. I came back. There turned out to be a lot more sellers when I came back. And I started thinking, well, how am I even going to discern who's who on here? And eventually, after watching a number of shows and everything, I saw kind of the books that some of these sellers were putting out. And I thought, okay, I like this show. I see some books that interest me. These are books that I've been on some of my lists when I go to comic shows and whatnot. And I was like, okay, what are the conditions of the book? It's so hard to tell on WhatNot what the conditions are. You have to rely on that seller. And so there's that part where you need to kind of gain that trust from the seller. Do you trust them enough to be honest with you? Maybe they're being as honest as they can, but even so, some sellers will be much better. They'll take a book, they'll bring it to the camera a little bit. They'll go around the spine, the edges. They will try to show you any defects and everything. Some sellers just kind of, I'm selling it as is, and just kind of give it a grade maybe, and just move on. They're not necessarily taking it out of the bag. They're not showing you the full picture sometimes. So again, there's where that part, you kind of got to trust that seller a little bit. So what I've been doing is, and I'll go through the different sellers here, I've been buying from certain people and kind of judging how good that book is based on what they described it as. So anyway, let's just get into it. I got some great books here. We're going to start off with, I got this one from Joe Mendez on WhatNot. This is Iron Man 47. I don't think there's any spec on this, but I happened onto his channel and saw some books that were interesting. It was towards the end of the show, and I ended up picking this one up. And this one, probably just based on everything I've said so far, it's probably in that medium grade. This is definitely not something that I would send in the CGC right now. It's going to just stay in the PC and everything. It's probably, if I remember right, this is probably not as good as I really thought it might be. So there's a case where I'm going to make a little note that if I watch one of his shows again, that I'll have to really pay attention to the descriptions and what prices he's doing. Same thing for this one. This is from Pressing Matters. Now this is actually pretty decent copy of Avengers 56, and it's, again, this is a case where I'm watching the show and maybe it's a little rougher than I expected. So again, mental note, well, I may even do a physical note. I really should do a chart. And do I go back to that show? Now, in both these cases, I only bought one book. I don't know if that's necessarily a mistake. There wasn't anything else I just really wanted to buy. You pay the majority, the biggest part of your postage is in that very first order from any seller. The following sellers, there's a smaller postage charge, but I tell you, it really adds up, doesn't it? But so there's two are kind of a PC book. This is actually pretty decent. There's some rub right here, but overall the rest of it's actually really sharp. So Pressing Matters is somebody I'd definitely go back to see what other books they might have in the future. Now, one that seems like he's on there almost every day, maybe even multiple times, is his channel name is cfuller97, and has a lot of modern books and then some bigger books, usually at the end of the show, but his shows seem like they go on forever. And I stopped on his show, stopped there one day, and I ended up picking up some books. They're not necessarily keys, but maybe future spec type keys. I picked up a copy of Spider-Woman #1, and I mostly did this because it has silk on the cover there. And I didn't pay more than a few dollars on some of these, so it's not like I'm breaking a bank on something like this. I did get a copy of Edge of Spider-Verse #1. This is brand new. This is the Scotty Young variant. And I was just at a show where I started to see this book pick up a little bit of steam. Not a huge book, but already it's that $10 to $12 book, seems like. And then I picked up another copy of him from Miss Marvel #1. This is the Frank Cho series that he did. It's very distinctive artwork there. And that wasn't not a lot of spec on this book either, but it was a #1. I think I've already owned this one, but it's just one of those I don't mind throwing a #1 in, and I was just kind of adding to the order there. But the one book I did pick up, this is the first one I picked up that night, was Spider-Man #1. This is the first issue of the Dan Slott run, and the reason I picked this up is because this is the first appearance or cameo appearance of Cindy Moon, who was Silk. And I don't think everybody knows that #4 was the big issue in that when Silk is revealed, first full appearance and everything. But later on, it was people went back and realized the cameo was in this one. So this one has picked up some steam as well as being a #1. So didn't pay. I don't have the prices in front of me, so I can't tell you how much I spent on these. But I know it wasn't a terribly large amount on any of this. So again, kind of future spec. We'll see. I definitely go back to cfuller97 and check out his channel. In fact, I go back up just about every day and see what kind of books he's got. As I said, it was a lot of new books, and sometimes I'll be interested in some of the things, sometimes not. Recently, my interests have kind of gone back down to the Silver Age and the Bronze Age a lot more, and even the Copper Age. And I've gotten away from moderns a lot recently. So anyway, it is what it is. Let me do this one. This is from Erod212. Now, everybody should know on YouTube who that is. He is one of the big channels on there that has his own pressing service, and he does a lot of videos where he goes to shows, and he's doing this kind of same thing. He's going to shows and he's finding these really good keys for really good values and everything. And I love watching those shows and everything, but he started recently selling on WhatNot. Maybe it's been longer than that, I'm not really sure, but I know every Tuesday night, I think around 7 or 7:30, he has a show. Right before Very Gary as well. They package their shows together, and well, one after the other. And so I've been buying a little bit from Erod because as a professional presser, this is my theory, is that he's going to be selling books where he's going to kind of put his reputation out there. When he describes a book, he really should be describing that book really to a T. It should be really tight. And so I've been picking up some books from him, and I'm going to go through this. Now, I've got a little pile of books that I picked up over the last, I think, about the 2 weeks. And a little bit of a mixed bag right there on some of the conditions on everything. And we'll go through it here. The first one I picked up in this batch is Critters #1, and a book I never had, but I bought this because I'm a Stan Sakai fan. I'm a Sagi Yojimbo fan. In fact, in the background, you can see right there, I've got my signed issue number 20 where Stan did a double remark. In fact, I've got the other one off to the side here. I got those back from CBCS here a little while ago. So I'm always interested in books that I don't have. There's not very many books of Usagi I don't have. I mean, I'll never own Albedo #2. I've got 3 and 4, but I'll never own #2. It's just financially out of the ballpark. But occasionally there will be a book like this that I might not have. So I never had Critters #1. This is a book that it's actually pretty good. The only problem that I'm seeing really is this one staple is very rusted. And that is something I've been noticing on some of these older Fantagraphic books that I've been getting like that. My Albedo #4 actually has a little bit of a rusted staple, just like this. But I don't remember Erod actually talking about that quite as much. I don't remember him mentioning the rusted staple on there. Now, I could have missed that, so I'm going to give him a pass on some of these things. Next up, it was Classic X-Men #1, and I think I bought those together. I had that, and let's see if I've got it in the batch here. Yeah, he had issues 1 and 2. Of course, you got not Neil. I was going to say Neil Adams. You got Art Adams art on both of these and everything. And the real one I was buying really was issue number 1 here. And this was something where I don't think it even came close to the way he was describing it. Once I opened this up and took a look, I could even tell from the front that it was going to have some problems, but that cover on the back is black. It's solid black border, and it has color-breaking spine ticks till the cows come home. It is about as bad as you're going to get. So there's a complete miss. But then you move on, and then he had a package of X-Men 282 and 283. And, of course, this is the first cover, first full appearance of Bishop. And it's a decent key comic, and these actually, the conditions are really nice. So there's a case where his description was really spot on. Also from him, I picked up a copy of X-Men #6. Condition on this was pretty much spot on as well. So that was pretty good. It's not a perfect copy. There is a little bit of a ding, but it's not something that he didn't describe. He talked about this. So let me turn this a little bit. Got a little bit of glare. Same goes for this. I had X-Men 221, first appearance of Mr. Sinister. Now this book was a little bit more expensive, and I didn't think it was going into it was going to be perfect, but it actually, this one turned out to be really, really nice. Pretty close to exactly what he described. Same goes for issue number 4 of the Jim Lee X-Men, first appearance of Omega Red. This is a really tight copy. I don't know if it's going to, I'd really have to double check on the grade on that, but this one looked really good. Description was good. But then it falls off again a little bit when you get to this X-Men 125, the first appearance of Protus, Mutant X. This one's a little rougher than I expected. But also, there's a case where I might not always, I might have missed something in the description. So I'm going to give Erod a little bit of a pass on some of these. But that classic X-Men number 1 is a lot worse than I expected. And it's the only one that really, really fell off the cliff for me in these orders. X-Men 268, slightly rougher than I expected. And Marvel Comics number 79. This is Marvel Comics Presents number 79. This is the first time you see Wolverine in the Weapon X kind of outfit, I suppose, everybody knows. Barry Windsor-Smith artwork. If you follow me at all on these channels, you know I love my Barry Windsor-Smith Weapon X issues. Not just issue number 72, but all of them. A little bit rougher than I expected on that. And then the last one I've gotten from Erod was issue 134 of the new X-Men. And I think this, let's see if I can get that glare gone there. There you go. I think that's Kid Omega's first appearance. I think that's what that is. And this one looks really good too. So overall, most of the books from Erod212 were really good. There's a few in there that kind of just dropped off, and that was disappointing because they weren't going to drop off and just be a very fine plus. That classic X-Men number 1. I mean, that's it may not even be a mid-grade. It may not even grade out as a fine. It probably goes down below that. That back is so bad. So this is not to say that I wouldn't rebuy from him. In fact, on the next Tuesday show, I'll be there watching it again and see what kind of books he's offering. Let's move on to, this is from Key Collectibles 313. And I think it's a channel I've been following, but I hadn't bought anything from until just a few days ago, or last week. And I ended up buying, this is a copy of Thor 279. This I'd actually never seen this when I was growing up. It's a book I had missed on the newsstand. This is just an outrageous Jane Foster bondage cover here. And what's funny is, as soon as I got this, I mean, I kind of got it as a lark because, oh, it's Jane Foster, it's bondage cover, I haven't never seen it, I didn't pay a lot for it, I don't think I paid more than $10 for this. But the show I went to immediately after I got this, I'm starting to see this now on the wall. Already I'm seeing this as a $20, $25 book. So is it a Key? I don't know. I have to look that up. But this was just one I bought because, oh, I kind of like that. That's a cool cover. And I never had it. So I bought that just for the PC, just to have. But the other book I bought, and I think I spent $100 on this. This is Wolverine #1, the regular series, the John Buscema artwork series, regular, ongoing. And this is a perfect case of, boy, you better put some trust into a seller on this. And his description of this is that it was really nice. I mean, I remember going around showing the spine. It's black on the front. The back cover, it's dark. You've got to be careful on that. I don't want to put too much money into this. And what if this would come back and look like that classic X-Men #1? I mean, man, I've been beside myself. In fact, I probably would have contacted WhatNot at that point. It's like, look, this didn't even come close to the description. But I'm telling you right now, this right here is a tight copy. And I'm excited about getting this in there. It's going to need just a little bit of a clean, a little bit of a press, just a little bit of love, and I'm going to end up sending this one right into CGC pretty soon. So there's a case that, no question at all, Key Collectibles 313. I've got the name written on the back here. I'll be back again on that. And then the last WhatNot that I've been picking up from recently, this is from, I may get this wrong, I've got it as Toy USA 201 Robert. So long name and everything. But I kind of went in on his he had a really good auction the night I was watching here last week, and I got some. These are some big key books, and let me just go through some of these. Let's. You know what? I'm going to start. It's actually his name is Robert Cooper. So, but his store name was a lot longer there. I'm going to start with the two that are not necessarily key comics, but I bought because I thought they were. One was a decent grade, and one has a personal significance. The one I bought just because I don't have it in my collection, and it looked like a decent copy. Has some nice sharp corners. It's Thor 159. Corners are really nice up here. I don't think there's any spec on a book like that, but again, and I'm sorry I don't have prices because, and I'll tell you why I don't have prices on some of these is that when they do auctions, most of the people on there, it seems like they don't put the title of the book in the auction name. It's just auction X, auction 2, auction 3, or whatever. And I understand that. It probably makes it a lot easier than for them to do an auction rather than sit there and key in every comic book that you're trying to sell. But it makes it difficult to go back and say, oh, crap, how much did I pay on this one? How much did I pay on that one? There's no record of which book you paid what on. There's just a record of what you paid. So I guess unless you sit there and watch and put prices on the books as you win them, as you're watching a show, there's really no way at that point. Anyway, point being is, that was just a fun pickup. This one right here is a book, 134, Fantastic Four. I want to say it's the first appearance of Gideon in comics. I think it was Gideon, right? That the Industrials who almost took down the Fantastic Four. This right here is the very first Fantastic Four comic I ever owned off the newsstand. This is the beginning of my Fantastic Four journey. Was this issue right here? I had no idea what was going on. All I know is that the way John Buscema drew the Thing and the Medusa and everybody, and with the Joe Sinnott artwork or inking on there, just fantastic. These are the books. This is the book I grew up with. I still have my original copy. I mean, I haven't read the cover completely off, but it's off pretty good. But that's a me pickup right there. But then I started looking at the other things that were upcoming on his show, and we got key comics here. And I rolled the dice a little bit on this, hoping that some of these would, well, even if they're not going to grade out at a 9.8 or even a 9.6, there still should be value at some lower grades. And that's why I got these. So I rolled the dice a little bit, but it wasn't like I didn't have a little bit of a safety net. So let's just start going through them. We've got Avengers 257. This is the first appearance of Nebula. We've got Fantastic Four 211. First appearance of, is that Terrax? Terrax. Of course, he ended up becoming a Herald of Galactus. We've got Amazing Spider-Man 265, the first appearance of Silver Sable. We've got Secret Wars number 7. I think this is the first appearance of the new Spider-Woman. We got Superboy number 9, first appearance of King Shark, right? And I'm going to put these down. I picked up another copy of X-Men number 171. You got Walt Simonson artwork here. This right here is Rogue when she joins the X-Men. I picked up what it looks like a really nice copy of Wolverine number 2, the Frank Miller miniseries. And I was still doing a little bit of a Fantastic run. He had some really good key comics in the Fantastic Four run. And here's, so I kept continuing with that. And it's funny, I was like, there's one book in particular I was like, I wonder if he's going to have that book. He's gotten some of these that are about the right time period. I wonder if he's going to have it. And that's the one I'm going to show after this one. But this one right here is the first appearance of Crusader. This is, of course, Marvel Boy back into Marvel Comics. And it's a book that I own, and I sent this into CGC in a 9.4 pre-stream. It was a Hail Mary pass on that. It had a little bit of damage that I thought, like, could it squeak by? And the answer is, no, it didn't. So, of course, I've been on the outlook for a much better copy, because I think we'll see this character again, and this is going to be one of his key first appearances. We'll see Quasar in the movies fairly soon. Everybody's pretty certain about that. So this is a key comic in that. But the Fantastic Four that I thought was that he might have, because he definitely is doing some key comics from the FF, was this one right here, issue 129. I'd never owned this book. Even when I started going back and buying back issues, I never owned this one. I owned I think 130. I think the issue right after that, and it's like this is of course the first appearance of Thundra, and what a great character. I mean, man, that's a character I'd love to see in the MCU. I mean, we already have Titania, we have She-Hulk, but man, I tell you right there, that was, she's a powerhouse. So that's her first key appearance, and it looks like a really nice copy. I'm going to end up, I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up reading this probably before I actually work on it and try to get it to CGC. But I'm getting off target here. I'm going, and then the last book I bought, I paid a little bit more for this than the others, but I bought looks like a pretty nice copy of X-Men 135. It's a little bit faded on the cover, but that could just be from the print room. I don't know if that's been in the sun or anything. There's a little nick right up here, but other than that, it looks pretty tight. I'll have to do a complete examination. The front right now looks really good. The back, we'll have to double check completely, but I'm hoping that'll grade out. But overall, I'm really happy with the books that I got from him right there. And his descriptions were really spot on. And I have no problem. Have no problem going back to his WhatNot channel. But so those are the books that I've been picking up from WhatNot recently. And then the last thing I was going to tell you about was I've got one book that I picked up recently from Heritage Auctions, and in the same vein that I pick up raws from WhatNot, sometimes slabs, but mostly raws that I can work on, I'm doing it because I want to find a value. I want to find that hidden value. I think I'm getting it at a really decent price, and I think I can do something to bump it up and make it a more valuable item. From Heritage, a lot of times I will buy graded books already that have really, especially right now with the market down, I think you can find some pretty good deals. And I look at these as books that I hold on to for a while, definitely will hold on to a while, because I think they won't lose much more value. I think the economy will come back, and these will become better investments down the road. But let me show you this. I picked up a copy of Fantastic Four number 60 in a 9.0, and this is a really nice copy. And I don't have the prices in front of me, but I know when I buy these things, even with the fees from Heritage and the postage and everything else that's involved, I thought this was a great value. But it's one can't go wrong having some of these higher grades like this of Fantastic Four in your collection. And what a great Doom Ben Grimm cover right there. I always love that. So anyway, that's it for today. I hope you got something out of this talk about how I'm approaching my buys on WhatNot especially. I'm not telling you what to go out there and buy the books that I'm buying, but look at your methodology, look at why you're buying things, and let me know. You can always put it into the video and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. What's your methodology? How do you go about picking your books out? What do you plan to do with them? Do you plan on keeping them just for your PC? That's definitely a method. Do you plan on to resell them as raws? Do you plan on doing what I'm doing, which is the majority of these I buy, I think about CGC. I think about CGC every day. Every book I buy, I have that in mind. Every book may not necessarily go out. If I work on it and I reevaluate it and the grade, it doesn't look like it's going to grade out to the level I want it to, well, it's going to look nicer, but it's definitely not going to CGC. I may hold on to it, or I may put it into an eventual raw sale type of situation, whether it's eBay or I don't know. I'm considering maybe setting up at a local comic show at some point. I've been encouraged to do that at some point as well. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of this video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you for the next one. Take care, guys.